3,
two,
1.
Monkey bars. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the second letter podcast. My name is Alex,
Oh, that was a close one. My name is also Alex,
aka Thick.
and I'm also thick. It's the Alex and Thick and Thick
Thick and
podcast.
Thickest podcast.
It's the 2x thick, 2x thick podcast.
Double XL.
Extra heavy.
This is I don't even know, man. I don't know. We haven't done this podcast in a long time.
I
And also,
never-
we post these episodes in the weirdest order now that I don't even know
Yeah, we
what the next episode's gonna be.
we have a timeline that's similar to a Christopher Nolan movie now. We're just kind of all over the place all at
Yeah.
the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
But I like it like that. It's kind
Yeah.
of freeing. You know what I
It is
mean?
freeing. We can
We
do
don't-
whatever we want, dude.
We're
No
it's like
restraining. No restraints.
freedom, absolute freedom. Oh,
Complete
actually,
freedom.
you know, I had some news, movie news in general. It's really nice.
Okay.
First of all, I'm really happy to be doing the podcast again, because when we take breaks like this,
There's so much to
I-
talk about.
there's so much to talk about for one. And then I also realized how much I missed doing this podcast. There's something about it that's just like,
Yeah.
it's kind of grounding for me, and maybe that's
Yeah.
because I'm so isolated out here all by my lonesome, but
Mhm.
I'm happy to be podcasting again.
Yeah,
So
man. Fun.
there's a couple of things that that happened in the news that I wanted to bring up with you.
Okay.
Like, did you see that thing with Alec Baldwin where he
Yeah.
shot
God,
that,
yeah, that was,
that cinematographer?
Yeah, that I was in when I was in California. Yeah, that was wild, huh?
Yeah, I can't believe that. That's
That I mean, I've been on a movie set,
Mhm.
and like, you know, granted it was not an action movie, and we were not handling weapons and stuff like that. But the mind blowing thing about that story to me, and the kind of puzzling part of that story that makes it, like, I think there might have been something bigger going on there.
that's what it sounded like. Yeah.
Because even on the set that I was on, that is like, you know, it's a fucking small ass movie about it's a, you know, father and daughter movie.
Yeah.
And there was so much safety and
Yeah,
protocols that were
right.
going on just for the camera people and everyone involved, with the 30 people that were on crew. Maybe probably even less than that.
Yeah.
So it is beyond me that something like that could happen.
I know,
And why are you using a live gun?
yeah, that's I didn't it was so weird, like in the thing in the article, because it said that
Yeah.
what happened is that they had a gun
We
which
should
was
probably
supposed to have
clarify
blanks.
what happened.
Oh right,
So,
yeah.
so
Let's
like
go into that.
basically what happened was Alec Baldwin was on the set of, I believe it was an indie film.
Yeah.
That was
I think it
being
was
shot-
called Rust. I think it's called
Rust, yeah.
Rust.
It was like a western.
Mhm.
And he, long story short, he was handed a prop gun which he thought had blanks in it, and I think they were shooting a scene, and he shot the gun, and it had a live round in it, and it killed the cinematographer and severely injured the director.
Yeah.
Um,
Which how the fuck, like, did it get a live round in it? The only way
that's my question.
my one like, I don't know shit about guns, but
Well, you know
I
what?
have heard that
This has
what
happened
can happen.
before.
Right,
you know?
yeah, like
this is not the first- Brandon Lee. is like the biggest
Brandon
one.
Lee, he's the
Yeah.
famous, super famous one. But like with guns, isn't there a thing where you can replace the clip, but if you don't like empty the cart or something, there's like a one bullet that can stay in there that
Yeah.
that won't come out when you switch the clip. So I guess it's
Mm,
possible that for whatever reason this gun had live rounds in it and they
right.
switched the clip to blank and maybe there was one left in it. That's the only way that I could understand when they say something like there's one live round, because I would get it if they said that it was a misfired blank, because that's what happened to Brandon Lee. He died from a blank
Right.
that
Okay.
actually killed
Yeah.
him.
Right.
But this one said it was a live round, and I don't really know. I don't understand that.
I don't know. I haven't like I don't know if there I haven't done any more research about like the investigation of it. I don't know if they even really got into an investigation yet. But
Yeah.
I
I mean,
don't
they
know,
were
man.
I thought I was surprised too, because when in the some of the investigation in some of the news, it sounded like they were actually investigating Alec Baldwin, or they were like
Oh, that's
investigating him,
stupid. I
which
think
like I
they should
must
not they shouldn't investigate it's not Alec Baldwin's fault.
that's what I thought. It's like it's an
It's the
accident for
prop
him.
master's fault.
Yeah.
It's the it's the guy whose fucking job it is
Yeah, who
on
handed
set.
him
That
that
is your
gun.
only job on
Yeah.
set. Um,
What a
and
weird way
well,
if
you know what I did hear though?
what?
That shoot was having problems before that. That
Yeah, I did. It was a pretty stressful
it
shoot,
was
it
a
sounded
special shoot.
like.
Didn't some people left because they didn't feel safe?
Yeah,
That's
right.
super concerning. That
Yeah.
is like um I mean that guy I mean that prop master is most likely going to jail for I mean I don't even he's probably gonna get a like I mean that's not it's a, you know it's
Yeah,
he's
I mean,
not
it
gonna
just
get away with
depends,
that.
because it sucks because the prop master will lose, even if it like he might have been like managing that stuff, but he had nothing to do with it. He would, even if he
Yeah.
had nothing to do with it, he
Well,
loses. It's like
yeah.
it's a big problem for his career. Well, I don't really know how those
Well,
things work,
I mean,
but
in my opinion, it is his fault. It's 100% his fault. His
right.
job is to check if there are like that is your job to make sure that the gun
Right.
is,
Well,
you know,
that's the thing about the specifics, because if there literally was a live round in it, that is crazy, because why is there
yeah,
any even live rounds on set? If it's a
exactly,
misfired blank, then it's like, okay, you still shouldn't have done that. That was
yeah,
fucking stupid.
yeah,
But like I get that that's accidental, but the live round wording makes it sound like it was an assassination, like the dumbest
yeah,
assassination in the
exactly.
world. It's just like, all right, I'm gonna put one
And
bullet in this gun.
there's only two people who have the guns, the
Yeah.
prop master and most likely they had a weapons handler on set.
Yeah, I heard that
Like,
there was something about the weapon handlers in that article that I read about too, but I don't remember
mm,
what that was. I remember reading a little bit about
that they're
that.
morons and that they like I mean yeah, that story's horrific.
Yeah,
Horrific.
that was really devastating to read that.
And it's horrible, like I don't know, just being on a set. It's like I couldn't even imagine that something like that happening, like on a movie set
Yeah.
where you're making a movie,
Yeah.
and
And they were talking about how even though it was stressful, it was still a very intimate shoot because it was an indie shoot. So
yeah,
it wasn't like this big corporate shoot with just a bunch of peons working around. It's like they were
right.
like friends with each other. So to
Yeah.
watch your friends get shot and killed while
Or
you're
Alec
working
Baldwin
is,
like killing somebody. I
yeah.
mean,
I was thinking about what it must feel like. I was like what it must feel like to be in Alec Baldwin's position, because that's like such a horrible position to be in
yeah,
place, where you just like,
I couldn't even
yeah,
imagine
no
that,
one's
man.
no one's gonna say it's Alex Baldwin's fault,
No, it's not.
for doing that. Like maybe if he wasn't supposed to point the gun at them, but like it really sounded like he was performing or practicing or
Oh,
something.
absolutely. I
But
mean, he's a veteran actor. I mean, he's been doing this shit for
yeah.
30 plus years. I mean,
I mean, maybe it'd be more problematic if it comes out like Alec Baldwin was drunk and just like, but that's not what sounded like
yeah.
happened. It sounded like he was on set and he
Well,
shot a pistol that he was supposed to
I don't
shoot
think
and it killed
nothing's
somebody.
gonna happen to Alec Baldwin. I mean, unfortunately,
Yeah.
that situation's so crazy. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know how
Yeah.
you gonna like handle that situation. You know, it's odd. Um, it's
Yeah,
just, you know,
he has
but
to be involved and investigated to a certain
oh,
extent just
absolutely.
for
Oh, 100%,
legalities,
100%.
which is just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever hear anything else besides
Oh,
like
we'll hear it.
the tragedy, but
Oh no,
if
we'll hear all about it, man.
yeah,
If you
we'll
look
see.
into it, dude, there'll most likely be a large trial that's gonna go on for a long time.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that was a fucking crazy story. Um,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
unbelievable.
I thought that was insane. Some really big new movie news. I don't remember that happened a couple weeks ago too. I think that might have happened
Well, yeah, that happened last week.
in October. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. Well, the other thing I wanted to bring up to you, which I thought was also pretty significant, which
uplifting.
yeah, and this one well, so I don't know when this happened, but I learned about it the other day earlier this week. So I learned that the Paramount decree was repealed. Do you know what that is?
I'm
Or do you know
glad
what
what
that
you're
means?
talking about.
So the Paramount decree is the thing that keeps it so one studio or production can't own all the different
Mm.
factor like sections of the movie industry, like the exposition, the production, and the
so,
distribution.
so Disney can't buy Paramount or
Yeah,
it
so
can't
like Disney can't,
monopolize
yeah,
the
like all
entire,
of it. So
yeah.
it can't have like a distribution, but
That's good.
that doesn't exist anymore. So now Netflix and Disney can do that,
Oh my god.
which is like really crazy to me because I always thought that was a really cool thing about movie history was that, the splitting up, like
Yeah,
one man can own all of this power. And I was just talking to Eva
yeah,
recently about like we should do that with Amazon, like just make it
yeah,
say that he can't own the warehouse, the all the movies in the world and the delivery services. Like you can't own all of that. You have to give some of it away. You just
yeah,
do it like the movies. And then I learned that the movies like they
yeah.
repealed that, which I don't know how big of a deal that is, but that's crazy to
Well,
me
these are
because
two depressing stories that you're bringing up right now.
I know. Well, I care about. I'm intrigued. I mean, it's always the
I
Dune.
mean, that one
Catches
is
your eye.
absolutely horrible. I mean,
Yeah,
it's super scary. I mean, it frightens me to my core.
I know. I know. I mean,
Because like you need competition. Like
yeah,
you need it. You just need different studios and different, not just studio people, different types of people that are making different movies.
right.
And if everything is, I don't even have to explain this. If everything is under one umbrella, it's just fucking, I mean, we're
I
just
don't
gonna
know,
be
man.
corporate slaves to one giant
Mickey
company.
Mouse. It's just going to be Mickey Mouse, Amazon, and Netflix, and then it's
Yeah.
just all going to become Disney and
But even like
Amazon.
Netflix is like fine because there's other streaming services that compete with Netflix. Like Hulu and Amazon and
Right.
HBO Max and like stuff like that. I think the streaming playing field right now, while crazy, you know, it's competitive. You have like there's reasons to have Netflix, there's reasons to have HBO Max. If you want. So I enjoy that where you still have a choice of like what streaming platform you want to
Yeah.
subscribe to, Um, that's just it's just weird because it's a different, it's not what it used to be back in the '80s where it was like Universal, the majors. It's like streaming platforms now,
Yeah.
Netflix is huge. So is HBO. HBO is fucking huge as well, and Disney Plus as well.
Yeah.
So um, and at the end of the day, I think Netflix's model of just making shit, like there's so much different types of shit on Netflix
Yeah.
that's exciting. But the thing is, like with a big company like Disney, they're only gonna be making, and it's clear with the Star Wars movies and you know some of the way that they've been treating their franchises. All they want to do is make money. They're gonna do whatever it
Right.
takes to get the most profit out of the film. Meaning, if Disney owned every studio, they owned Paramount, They already own Fox. They, Warner Brothers, God forbid. They own like all these things. They're just gonna keep making like it's not good. It's not good at all.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, when something like that happens, I think that something will, if that gets to a point, which I mean, it's getting pretty dramatic, and to the extent of like all these remakes that we're getting, and this lack of any kind of original material, and just like this redundancy. It's like I still feel like we're very much at the verge of figuring out like some new way to do stuff, where
I
we
mean, I think,
utilize
yeah.
streaming and
I
stuff.
think streaming is kind of like evolving into like a new way. That is the new way to do things. I mean, I think like people are. I mean, I brought this up a lot. Is when the newest like Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, like a big like Oscar, contender movie is going to be on Netflix, and
Yeah.
like we can talk about this too, like the last duel, which is like a Ridley Scott
Oh yeah.
movie starring Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and Adam Driver. Critically got great critic reviews. Everyone was like, "This is a great movie." Like Ridley Scott, like did it again. This is an awesome Ridley Scott movie. It bombed
Wow.
like really hard, like super
Wow.
hard. Like that came out this weekend. Probably gonna be the day came out.
Yeah.
Um, and that's frightening. That scares me a lot because you have Ridley Scott, who is
Yeah.
one of he is like a god, like a literal god. Like he did Alien, Blade Runner, all Gladiator, all these fucking super successful, huge movies starring huge actors. Matt
Yeah.
Damon, Ben Affleck, Adam Driver, all these people, and it bombed. No one saw it. And
Yeah.
like it had literally everything going for it. Where it was like critics liked it, people that have been successful in the past, A-list actors, a filmmaker who has made a countless amount of successful films.
Yeah.
You know, it comes out and just no one sees
Yeah.
it,
I
and
mean, that's
that's
kind
like
of
scary because if our studio and it's a big movie. Like it's not like an indie film. Like it's like a
right.
$200 million big original medieval movie. That what's scary is that if no one sees these big original movies anymore, studios aren't gonna make it. So
Right.
we're not gonna get these like cool visions like by giant filmmakers anymore. Like it might go away. But Dune is also the
Yeah.
argument against that, right? Where
Right.
Dune is
Right.
doing well, and it's you know it's a
Yeah.
it's
I
an
mean,
ambitious sci-fi film, so
the
that's
the
cool.
the idea of, it is a good point, and it's and I think that Dune was the main counterexample that I
Yeah,
was thinking to that. And the last duel is also a good example of like this whole phenomenon that I've kind of been hearing murmurs in like the industry and people writing about it, which is
yeah,
talking about the idea of star power, which is still very relevant, don't get me
yeah. No,
wrong, but
yeah.
it doesn't have the same kind of pull
It
that it
doesn't.
used to.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Because the point that I was reading is that, yeah, we have star power in Marvel, but it's them associated with their
Exactly.
Marvel
Yeah.
characters. It's
No,
not
you're
just
absolutely
Robert
right.
Downey Jr. because
No,
Dr. Doolittle, right?
yeah. No, you're
It's like,
absolutely right.
so that's the thing with
Yeah.
like the last duel. It's like, yeah, it's kind of like,
But my
even though that
point to
movie,
that is that like it's it's not like I don't know. It wasn't like a like it just seemed like a sure bet that it would make at least 20 million.
right,
Like opening
right,
weekend. Not bomb like that. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's not like I wasn't expecting it to be like number one or something, but
yeah, but
it has like all like a director attached to it. It has like a cool medieval story. Usually those do well. Like,
yeah,
dude, the trailer was like from the director of Gladiator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I would have gotten enough people to be like, yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go see this because Gladiator is awesome, you know? Like, I don't know. It's
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's interesting. It's a so what
and
about
obviously
like
shit like that happens all the time. I mean, like big original movies that have good their actors that are great come out and bomb, like The Nice Guys or something like
yeah,
that.
right. Well,
Um,
what about like the French Connection in Soho? Did they do well?
I mean, I don't know how the
Not
last.
French Dispatch. God damn it.
I mean, the French Dispatch is like kind of irrelevant because like Wes Anderson's movies like don't like they don't really make a dent in the box office. Like they're just
Oh,
kind of
okay.
like they just kind of come out and they're like you know like they're not like I mean, they're great, they're amazing, but they're not like you know. I mean, I probably made like 5 million or something, but that
Yeah.
movie costs like
Oh, that's
what,
interesting.
like you know, nothing to make probably. I mean, it costs money, but
I mean, they have some
the
big
last night in
name
Soho, I
actors.
don't know how that did actually. I don't know.
Yeah.
'Cause that just came out
Yeah, right. That
this
came out
weekend,
yeah,
like
this
this
weekend.
past weekend. Yeah,
Well, I'm curious about like French Dispatch. Let's just look at okay, yeah. So it made back French Dispatch cost 25 and
yeah,
it made 13,
yeah.
which is not really
And
great.
that's a movie that, but that's like a movie that will snowball. You know,
Right.
like it
That's
will like
the plan isn't really to make that
the
huge
plan is
blowout.
that's gonna get a lot of Oscar nominations, and it's
Right.
gonna you know people are gonna see it through that. You know,
Yeah,
um,
and last night in Soho is a similar situation where it cost 50 million
yeah,
and it looks like it made 77 million.
77
7 million,
opening
7.8
weekend.
million. Yeah.
Yeah,
Box
I mean,
office.
well, the box office is all fucked up now because like
Yeah, COVID makes it so weird.
Dune got 50 million opening weekend, and that was considered like a success.
Yeah,
We live in like this post-pandemic
that's
world where
true.
like
Yeah, that's
50 million
true.
opening weekend is like it's good, but it's not like you
Yeah,
know
well, what was it?
amazing.
What was its budget? It's definitely more than 50
Oh my
million.
god, yeah,
It's
oh
like
yeah.
way more than 50 million.
Although I think it's not as high as you think it will
Oh,
be. Yeah,
oh, Wikipedia. This is all according to Wikipedia. I don't know how
yeah.
accurate this is,
Well, it's probably
but
accurate.
it said the budget is 165 million. It said
Yeah.
it made 300 million
Oh yeah,
over the box
worldwide.
office.
Yeah,
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 worldwide.
worldwide.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it did well. I mean, it's doing well.
yeah,
But like,
which is really cool.
um,
Yeah,
which
that's
is like,
interesting, man.
thank God, uh, because we'll talk about Dune, but it's a part one, and
Yeah. Oh, dude, that would be
there
so
was,
devastating
I
if it
mean,
bombed
that
and they
was
didn't
like
make part two.
exactly that was a question mark. That's why, like when like the weekend came out, and then Warner Brothers was like, "Hey, Dune 2 is gonna come out." Like it
Yeah,
wasn't like announced. Like
yeah, yeah,
they
yeah,
didn't know, and even like Denis Villeneuve and the actors didn't know if they were gonna make the second one.
yeah.
Like
That's
it was
wild.
up in the air, you
Well,
know?
that makes me question because so we're in this post-pandemic situation and it
Yeah.
has really brought is motivated this dramatic change to our perceptions of movies, or so it seems that way, even though people are going back to the theaters, like shit's changed and it's different now.
Hmm.
um like would if Dune came out when it was scheduled to be out, would it be this kind of success?
But when did it? What was it originally supposed to come
Because it was
out?
supposed to come
Like
out,
December of 2020, right?
yeah, so yeah, that yeah,
It's hard to say because like I need to know like what was opening around it, like what
yeah.
was
Wasn't Spider-Man supposed to come out
was
around it?
it?
I don't remember. I really don't remember
I
now
don't think so.
because
Um,
all movie was just were just gone. So it's
yeah,
just
it's
so
kind
hard
of
to
hard to
remember
tell
any of
now.
them now.
And also, even like No Time to Die, which I thought was really good, that didn't do like amazing. You know, like
Yeah,
it did
right.
it for a Bond movie. You know,
Yeah.
um, and I think that probably had to do with um. Well, I also actually back to Dune. Actually read an article because Dune is also on HBO Max as well.
Hmm.
And
Right.
I read an article that hurt it a lot.
Really?
Yeah, if it wasn't on HBO Max, like think about it. I mean, if it wasn't on HBO Max, like more people would have gone to go see it. But since people were like, "Oh, it's on HBO Max," I'm not going to go to a theater. I can just sit here and watch it at home. Which please do not do it. Go
Yeah.
see this in the theater. Like, my God, this is like, if there's ever a movie that's designed to see in a theater,
Yeah,
it is this
yeah,
movie.
it is Dune.
Um, and so like, but I think that definitely hurt it a little bit that it was also on streaming as well.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that Warner Brothers is like they're I think the rest of their 2020 slate will be on HBO Max, but after that, it's not. They're not going to do it anymore. It's just going to be theaters after
Yeah.
like their 2022 movies will just be in theaters. They're not going to do simultaneously streaming
You
releases.
know, I don't know how I feel. To be honest, I kind of think that they should just continue with the simultaneously streaming.
I don't know how I feel about it either. I think there's particular movies where I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, like at the end of the day, like I don't. The thing is that is just concerning to me is like I think it's cool. Like I watch Halloween Kills. We talk about that too, but I
Yeah,
watch
right.
Halloween Kills on Peacock. Like
Yeah.
I watch
Free.
it at
Yeah.
home, and like that was cool. You know, like I didn't need to go to the theater to see that. Like I wasn't upset that I didn't see it in theaters. You
Yeah.
know, it
Yeah.
wasn't cool, but like I wasn't butthurt about it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, like Space Jam 2. Pretty happy that
You didn't
it
have
was
to
on
go to a
HBO Max
fucking
and I didn't have
theater
to
for
get in my
that.
car. Yeah, drive. Yeah, I mean it's a good thing, but the thing is that is concerning to me on like seeing Dune, for example, like super like I was so worried that it wouldn't make its money back. We weren't gonna fucking see the trilogy because
Yeah.
it just didn't make money. Is that thank God it did make money, but like if it's on streaming, it's harder to get that box office return that those big films like need desperately. Like
Yeah.
you can put on like whatever that didn't cost that much money to make, you know, like
Yeah.
Halloween Kills. Um, and that's cool, but I think like No Time to Die, for example, that wasn't on streaming or anything.
Yeah.
And like, you know, that's the weird conundrum that we're in. We're like, what are people like? I think No Time to Die did well, but it was like I don't know. Every time I see the numbers, I'm like, that's like weirdly low, like
Yeah.
for like a
Well,
movie like that.
well, the last duel example you brought up is really intriguing to me. I find that
That was
really
only in theaters,
interesting.
by the way.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's even especially intriguing
Yeah,
because what it's we're really in a period where we're just like we're having to refigure this shit out because the old
yeah,
model of what tended to just work, it
right,
just I mean, it's been coming for a long time that streaming was going to have
yeah,
this massive effect, and it has had this massive effect. But you know, the big question is like, are theaters going to die? And I still think the answer to that is no, but we're
no,
definitely
no,
having to figure out what's going to change is how movies are made. Theaters aren't going to go away,
yeah,
but movies are going to get or be different. And what I feel like we're going through right now is an extreme experimental testing
yeah.
period of trying to figure out what works again, because
Mm-hmm.
you can't make something like Last Duel and expect it to get the returns that it needs
Yeah,
anymore.
that's makes me upset because it's like, you know, like these big like I saw this great video essay on YouTube of this guy talking about this he coined this term gonzo blockbusters,
Hmm.
meaning these giant big blockbusters that are made by like auteur filmmakers that aren't batshit insane. Like for example, like Aquaman,
Yeah.
uh fucking Valerian in the City of a Thousand Planets,
Yeah.
like things like that, that were like these giant, like these insane movies that like have so much money behind them and they just completely bomb, you
Yeah.
know, but they're really crazy creative movies.
Right.
But like so that worries me that we might not ever see that again, you know, where a big filmmakers like gets to have like $200 million to like, you know, have an octopus playing bongos and shit, you know?
Right.
Like
Right.
it's gonna be much more restrained, but
Yeah. I
um
mean, what I'm not
it's limits creativity in a way.
I mean, what you're what you're I think the positive is about the positive about this is like, yes, maybe that's the sacrifice that we're going to lose. I'm not sure if we're going to really. I think that I am hopeful that in the way that it's going to change, we're not going to miss that aspect so much. I can't really describe like what could happen of why we won't feel that way, but I don't really, I just don't feel that concerned about like feeling like I've worried about losing that because I'm more excited about the shift, about the potential for studios not to have such a stranglehold on making productions that are like super relevant or super big.
Yeah.
So like
Well,
I'm more
that wait,
excited.
wait. So, this is why I'm confused. Is that
Okay.
this whole situation makes me think that it's gonna be worse. It's like leading into we really have to make things that are fitting a mold and fitting what's popular. Like because of like the returning box office and like the streaming and stuff like that. Like they're
Yeah.
gonna start making movies that like I don't know, just are even more formulaic or like
Yeah.
more like Marvel movies or like more like things that make money. Like
Well,
instead of like
it's possible, but what it seems like to me is that people don't know what that form is. They don't
yeah,
know what makes money. They don't know what's popular. They don't
yeah,
know what's works. And what's exciting to me about not knowing is that that means that they're going to be forced to do something new. You know, like how it was
mm-hmm,
in the 70s, where before Jaws came around, and there was that
yeah,
huge experimentation period in film. It's like that's where it feels like we're kind of at right now, where we're getting to this point of desperation, where we're going to like be in a place again.
yeah.
This is
I'm
maybe
so happy
wishful
that you have
thinking,
faith
but
in Hollywood.
I don't necessarily have faith in Hollywood, but I have faith in the I don't have faith in Hollywood. Like I think that I think it's I'm glad that shit like I'm hoping that what's happening from this shit is that Hollywood loses a lot of steam and we get cool creators who come to power and
Yeah,
eventually get corrupted and become the new Hollywood, and then
yeah,
we have a new cycle after that.
right,
But I'm really excited for this little period when this shit falls and we
yeah,
have a cool period of innovation is what I'm hoping, where we
yeah.
got all these awesome filmmakers who get around and try
And
to
the New
like
Gold Dude
revive
is
this
like,
shit.
to me, the New Gold Dude is one of them.
I agree. I totally agree with
He's
that.
a trailblazer that has been able to like break into this Hollywood system, from making just like incredible movies
Yeah.
and got the opportunity to direct Blade Runner 2049, which I'll remind everybody bombed.
Was not successful at
But
all.
was absolutely incredible. It is definitely regarded as definitely likely one of the best sci-fi movies in the 2010s in the last
Yeah.
decade.
Yeah.
I watched it. I rewatched it the other day. It's
It's
fucking
fantastic.
incredible.
I mean, people call it
Um,
better than the original Blade Runner, which I don't think is a very interesting argument to have, but like
I okay. Here's why. I'm just gonna say a quick opinion about that. I don't
okay.
think it's. I think it's a better story than the original Blade Runner. I think it's more
Oh, interesting.
interesting, and I think it's. I'm not gonna say it's better because I mean Blade Runner 2049 wouldn't exist without the first Blade Runner, so I can't be like, yeah, this is a better movie. It's like no, it's like obviously the first one is super influential and creative. And just the influence that the first movie had is so undeniable that I could like never say like
Yeah.
Blade Runner 2049 is better. But I will say, I mean, there's things about Blade Runner, the first Blade Runner, that people have been saying for years, but there's certain plot points that are kind of corny and are kind of just,
Yeah.
especially in like the theatrical cut, or
Oh, the
things like that.
theatrical
The
cut.
way,
The theatrical cut is arguably awful. The
yeah, it's not
theatrical
good.
cut is very
Yeah.
potentially just bad.
And then there's four cuts of that movie. And so like, and so like and look, I love Blade Runner, but I'm just saying if I'm looking at it, if I read the script for both
Uh-huh.
Blade Runner movies, I would probably say that 2049 is a better
That's
script.
really
I just think it
interesting.
has like more interesting, engaging sci-fi story.
Yeah.
Um
I don't disagree
Execution,
with
I
that.
don't know.
I
But
the way I think about it
at
is
the end of
that
the day, it doesn't really matter. Like
like
they're
the
both
only
amazing.
thing that we can really compare about the two movies is that they're both have Blade Runner in the name to me. So
Well, and the
it's
same
like
Deckard, and like it is a sequel.
yeah. But
It's
like
definitely a sequel.
but the reason why it doesn't feel like a necessarily comparable thing, where it's like I'm trying to think of a good example of what's worth like comparing. the two things, and not like sequels that are worth comparing,
Yeah.
but like because the way I see about it is that Blade Runner 2049 is the perfect sequel where
Perfect.
it is an addition and expansion
Yes.
of the
Yeah.
story without
Yeah.
eliminating or really touching the original at
It
all.
stands on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it still progresses. It does something new.
Exactly.
And like,
Yeah.
and it's like we have this idea of sequels, that what a sequel should do is just like be an improvement of like the original movie, which is just like this is what these shitty remakes are right now.
It's like if we're gonna make a sequel to a movie that came out, 30 years ago, let's just do it again.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because everyone forgot.
Like
Let's
the
just do it again
fucking,
with new CGI.
listen, I'm excited for Scream 5 just because I love Scream. But that
Yeah.
trailer, it's the first movie. Like
Yeah.
you're watching it, like you're just doing Scream again. Like the first
Okay.
Scream.
Let's talk about Scream 5, which is stupidly called Scream. Like which
Yeah,
is
what a missed
it's so
opportunity.
ridiculous.
They could have
Yeah.
called it just five Scream.
What if they call yeah, right. Or they called it Screams. Huh? Screams.
Dude, that reminds me. Remember that they made Rings? They made a sequel to the Ring. I saw that. I was looking at the street and I laughed so hard. I was like, I completely forgot of it.
Does that suck?
That. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like it
Rings.
sucks. Yeah, Scream. So I'm confused with Scream 5 because looking at it, the thing about Scream to me that is significant is that it's a slasher movie, but it's that slasher movie with like the comedy and the meta stuff in it. But Scream 5 doesn't seem like that at all to me. It just seems like Halloween trying to be Halloween.
I mean, it 100% has that feeling for sure. Like it totally is like, oh, so you're just trying to be Halloween 2018. Okay.
Yeah. Halloween 2018.
But like I will say that like I'm gonna reserve judgment until I see the movie, because they could like cut trailers in a way that
that's
make
true.
it market it as more of a horror movie. But yes, you're right. I mean, I hope they have to keep that intact, because that's kind of what Scream is. It's a takedown, not a takedown, but it's a parody. It's a play on horror movies.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even call it a parody either. It's just kind of having fun with the genre that it's in.
So, and this is the other thing about this. So maybe let me just like critique the Scream 5 trailer and why I don't like the Scream 5 trailer. Because
the only thing that I liked about it, just real quick, is that Sydney, I like that they're taking. I like the line when she's like, "Yeah, I'm fucking Sydney Prescott."
I like that too. So I like that too.
It makes me excited that hopefully they'll get Sydney right. But other than that,
because
it looks so generic, man.
Right. That's the first problem, is it looks really generic. And then the other problem is that
it doesn't look like shit, but it looks like Halloween 2018.
Yeah, and that's the problem, because like Ghostface to me is interesting because of like the irony and like the like cult phenomenon around it. But he's not like a scary design or intrinsically scary. Like they did like the hallway scene.
Yeah. The scary thing about Scream, I just watched Scream actually not too long ago,
which is it's so
such
good.
a phenomenal movie. But the thing that's scary about Scream is the mystery aspect to it. Like the brilliance of that film, like structure wise, is like you're guessing who the killer is the whole time. And when the end comes, it gets you. Like you're not expecting, the twist at the end of the film, who's revealed to be Ghostface. Ghostface itself isn't scary. It's not like Michael Myers.
Exactly.
The image of Michael Myers, the image of the personification of evil. Ghostface is just a costume. Great costume, super iconic costume, but it's not
just
like
a costume.
Just seeing Ghostface doesn't strike fear into you.
Yeah, dude, you hit the nail on the head, which is why the Scream 5 trailer just feels really like it misses the mark for me. So heavy. It
is hard to market it too, though. Like if they are going in that way where it's like, so because they do hit the trailer like somebody, like, can't trust anybody, the famous want to call back line for the first one, to trust anybody, like, so I don't know. I mean, I'll see it. But
Yeah.
like, I'm just like the thing is like also that makes me upset is Wes Craven directed all four, and he's
Yeah.
passed away.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
like
that
not
blows.
he's not involved in making it. Which is bummer. But
Yeah.
I don't know who wrote it. I don't know if the same writer who wrote the other four
Yeah.
films. Because
Yeah, it would be
that would make me definitely a little more excited if the same writer is involved. But
yeah,
um
something to keep our eye on. So I want to there's actually one other thing. This topic will probably get us into Dune.
yeah.
But I want to think about this idea of sort of this concept of talking about this shift in Hollywood, which might make it that that directors are more creatively limited. And
Mhm.
so that as I was thinking, that sort of festered in my brain and reminded me of a conversation that I overheard. Well, I was watching a Corridor Digital YouTube video,
Okay, yeah.
which Corridor Digital is really cool because they're becoming a really influential
Yeah.
VFX like accessible way to enter into VFX,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which VFX is like gonna control the world. Like,
Mind
let's be
blowing.
honest, and like it's once anyways.
Yeah.
But what the point of the points that they were making on this that I thought was really
The
interesting,
metaverse.
yeah, what they were talking they were talking about how they were having a conversation about how VFX, like the capacity for what our technology can do, is getting to the point where it's really limitless and seamless, and Dune's a
Mhm.
great example of that because of
Yeah.
how phenomenal the visual effects are.
Oh yeah.
um and so
Incredible.
what's that making me think about though is that you got all these VSX that are really really great, but it's what's in the back of my mind is that I love VFX and I love the
Yeah.
crazy shit that we can do with Marvel and stuff, but we always talk about how there's like this problem that any moviegoer can see with
Yeah.
losing some reality or
Mhm.
tangibility to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So a potential thing that could be cool about the
I
restriction in
think
funds or
going
capacity,
backwards.
yeah,
Filmmakers might go backwards in a
which
way.
might be kind of cool. We
No,
combine
I
VFX
think they are gonna do that. I mean
and
I
then
think
practical effects come back or something. I don't know.
yeah, I mean practical effects are still used
Yeah,
today.
yeah,
Like I mean this is a small show like Halloween Kills, like has great practical effects, makeup effects.
yeah, with
Um
like the kills and stuff because
yeah,
they
with
have
the
like real
kills.
fake blood and stuff.
Yeah.
Or I hope.
Um
I don't know.
oh yeah. Um and like I think it's still like around, but I think like you're absolutely right. And like I think practical effect it makes me like I watched on Halloween, I really watched American Werewolf in London. We've never
Oh,
seen American
so
Werewolf.
good.
That movie came out in 1981, okay?
Yeah,
And he doesn't like, he's seen horror movies, but he's not like a huge horror fan.
yeah.
And he was loving the movie, and I told him, like, before, I was like, wait till you see the transformation scene,
Oh
because
yeah,
it's like one of the most iconic, like, influential makeup scenes of all time. And he watched it, and his mouth was still full. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, man, like, CGI, like, you can't, like, if that, like, great example, they remade uh, The Wolfman that came out like 2010. And if
yeah,
you, same guy, Rick Baker, who was the VFX supervisor on that movie, who did The American Werewolf,
yeah,
did a werewolf transformation of The Wolfman. Cool, but it was CG. And it wasn't nearly as spine, just like tingling and like just like weird, like that's the thing is
yeah,
like about that scene is like it looks weird. Like it's not like his hand literally like curling in the sound effects and literally hearing the bones like crack and
yeah. I know.
then
Yeah,
like
yeah,
his
dude.
literal hand expand and it's so tangible because
It's really
it looks
there. Yeah,
skin. It looks like
yeah,
skin. But a CGI effect, like sure, like maybe I would love to see what I would love to see is like a super high, like a really good visual effects artist recreate that scene, but like in CGI and
and see how
see
it
like
goes.
what like how which one looks more real. But it's not even like about like what looks real. right? It's like what
Right.
looks like right for the moment.
Right.
That
So
like
that's
that
so true.
transformation scene when he's like on the ground and like his spine is like literally you see the spine just like moving and like you know, does it look real? Probably not, but
Yeah.
it's weird looking and it's creepy and
Yeah.
scary what
Well,
you're
that
seeing.
makes me think of another corridor video that I watch, which I think these guys are fantastic artists, but this is a bit of a dig on the point of their video because they
Mm-hmm.
did something where they wanted to recreate, which is an awesome idea. They wanted to take the original like trench run in New
Yeah,
Hope
yeah,
and they wanted to recreate it in CG. And
right,
they did it super fucking fast. You
right,
know, they
right, right.
like for and the original trench run took them like four fucking
Yeah.
ever because it was 1977,
Well, it's
whatever it was.
miniatures and
Yeah, and
stuff. Yeah,
miniatures and all kinds of crazy shit. And they didn't
yeah,
have a way to like watch the footage. They just had to like
right.
try it, do calculations. So they like put it together really fast
Mm-hmm.
and they made something that looked more real. But when I was watching it, and it's like,
Yeah,
man, this is hard for me to decide because obviously it's Star Wars and I have this nostalgic attachment, but
yeah.
I like the original way better
Well, of
than what
course
they
you do.
made.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, yeah. It's just
But
like,
it wasn't just like, oh, I
well,
prefer that
that's
other one. It was like it feels more
no. I
filmic
think
to
that's
me. It
yeah,
felt better.
exactly. That's the thing. Is like I think like CGI is great with use in certain like as a tool. I think Christopher Nolan is like a prime example of how he uses it. He uses it as a tool. It's
Yeah.
not a crutch. Like you're seeing a plane go into a building. Like you're not like that's not a CGI effect, you
Right.
know? And yeah, there's visual effects in that movie that they enhance the things that they're already doing, you know? Um, but no, I think like I've always thought about that. And I've
Right.
always thought about like why are we so obsessed with chasing like realism? You know, like why
Yeah. Right.
like we're watching a movie. Like if it looks good within the world of the film that you're trying to create, like why would you care if it's not perfectly accurate to like
Right.
you know what I mean? Like
Right.
that trench run is
Right.
a perfect example. And it's kind of a silly example to do it with Star Wars because it's Star Wars.
Yeah. Right.
Like they're fighting on a Death Star that does not exist, or
Yeah.
a like I don't care what it looks like as long as it looks believable. That's all I
Yeah.
care about. Believable in the world of the movie. And
Yeah.
that's why I
Yeah.
think like I love those 80s horror movies and like the
Yeah.
practical effects because
It's something special. Yeah. It's
it's
something,
special they're actually doing it like
you know,
on
and
set, which is like, you know, I don't know, it has a more tangible thing to it.
what that makes me also think about is then a way because I agree that I'm not really a big fan of this pursuit of realism, which we see in video games too, right?
Yeah.
Like this like
Yeah,
obsession
absolutely.
with realism,
Yeah.
and then all the games are the fucking same thing
Exactly.
over and
Right.
over and over
Right.
again, but the
Right.
graphics are better,
Right.
and it's just this obsession
Yeah.
which is cool, but it's for like the tech
It's
guys who
cool
are
as crap.
seeing
Yes.
where you can push
Exactly.
that type of
Right.
stuff.
Right.
But like I want a story, I want an
Yeah.
experience. It's like that's what I'm really interested
I
in.
want to be immersed in a different world that you created.
Exactly.
Like
So,
I don't want to be. It's one of the reasons why I never got into Grand Theft Auto. Like I don't want to drive around in fucking LA. Like like I don't care. Like I
yeah, right.
yeah, good
I feel
game, good
similar.
game. But like you know,
I
it's
don't
like
care.
or
uh
but like Red Dead Redemption is like at least that's like they created their own kind of Western
yeah.
world, you
Yeah.
know, as as they went as real as they possibly get. To that game's downfall, in my
Right.
opinion, is how realistic they made it, where you have to
Yeah.
like do a lot of this annoying bullshit because of realism, which is stupid,
Yeah.
in my opinion, to make a game. But like, at least that's like some creativity there. Like, you
Right.
have to,
And I mean, that also makes me think of The
not that
Last
Grand
of
Theft Auto is
Us.
not creativity. Creative,
Right.
but
No, but it's like it's to this point of like servicing like the world of the story. And I feel like Last of Us actually did a really good job of
yeah,
servicing the realism for the purpose of the story it was trying to tell. Because like they were able to get performances that I've never seen in a video game before, and like through that
Still haven't,
animation
really.
and realism type of stuff. And Last of Us 2, I'm talking about
Yeah,
specifically.
right.
Shoot me down, I don't fucking care. Like if you it's a tired argument if you say
It's
Last of Us
good.
2
Come on.
is shit.
Yeah.
So the other thing I'm thinking about is this conversation made me think of Annihilation, which does
Okay.
use CGI in a way that
Oh,
I
yeah.
think is awesome. Like the
Yeah.
ending monster
Oh, yeah.
is a
Oh, yeah.
CGI
It's
fest,
incredible. I
right?
mean, dude, yeah. I
But
mean, there's
that's so creative, and it
yeah.
feels like you know
Yeah.
how like the practical stuff felt to me,
Well, I
where
mean,
it
that's what
was
even before we talking about like the Gonzo kind of filmic, like
right,
Valerian, the whole movie's CGI, but it's super
awesome.
creative.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like
I love
really
Valerian.
Valerian. I love it because of its just insanity and its creativity. It's
Right,
just
right.
bursting with. And you pause a fucking frame of that movie, and it's
It's
like
insane.
it's
It's
insane the
insane.
level of like like just detail and unnecessary detail that is in that movie. And the problem with that movie is like Dane DeHaan, why horrible casting. Just the story of it kind of fell flat. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it is a visual. It is so
Yeah,
entertaining to watch because it's just
right.
absolutely insane. But the whole movie CGI, but the design of the creatures is so engaging because they're creative. It's not
Yeah,
like you
it's
can
so
be
new. It's so
creative
original.
in
Yeah,
CGI and stuff like that. It's just I think there's a lack of like CGI is so cool, but it's just realism. It's just you gotta be
yeah.
real. Like
Well,
Shang-Chi was that whole end dragon fight at the end was
fuck that.
ridiculous
Yeah, yeah.
because it was
But the
like,
bus scene, on the other end, the
yeah,
bus
right,
scene was how you use CGI. Like I thought
yeah,
that was a fantastic use of
exactly,
saying Shang-Chi is actually a great example of this conversation of like the ending being like, this is why I hate CGI, and the
yeah,
beginning being like, this is why I love it. Because we can do
yeah,
shit like this.
right,
And dude, so Denis
yeah.
Villeneuve,
The new
he
gonna move,
we
yeah,
call him a trailblazer, and I think he's a trailblazer in this way of being able to use the tools of the
yeah,
modern world to create stories that really hit you in the right way. I felt that
mm-hmm.
way about Arrival too. When I saw
Yes,
Arrival,
yeah,
that was
rivals,
something that
yeah,
clicked with me, where it's just like,
mm-hmm.
maybe CGI isn't so bad if you could
Right,
do shit like this, you
yeah.
know? So it really opened my
It's
eyes
just like
to a
using it
creative.
correctly
Exactly. And I think Dune is a great
in a cinematic
example
way,
of using CGI in an
Yeah.
extremely cinematic fashion.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man.
So do you want to start
So
talking about Dune? I'm
yeah,
ready to talk about Dune. Let's
so
do it.
Doom, yeah, this is like one of my most like anticipated movies um um last year, but
Yeah.
came out this year. Um because like Glugo Moon is somebody who is, in my opinion, probably like I mean we said it, he's somebody who is in the Hollywood system like Nolan or like Tarantino that he is just making bold movies.
Yeah.
And but he's made big scale movies like Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, and now Dune, but he's also made super small, powerful, intimate films like Prisoners and Enemy and
Enemies.
Insomnia and what was the other one? Sicario.
Yeah.
I love that movie. He hasn't made a bad movie. All his movies are like good to fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So like I obviously was super excited when I heard about that he was gonna make Dune because I just thought that was a perfect choice. And I don't know much about I've never read Dune. I just my dad is a huge Dune fan and he's always talked about how, he's all like really wants to see Dune
On
done
screen.
right because
Yeah, yeah.
originally David Lynch made a Dune movie in the 80s.
Which was
That
poorly
again,
recepted.
again though, I kind of uh, throw that into the Gonzo block. It's a crazy fucking movie.
Yeah,
It's
it
entertaining
really
in the
is
way of
nuts.
how crazy and bizarre and pretty creative the visuals are, and it's just that movie. He tried to condense, a giant ass story into one film,
Right, right.
now that I know kind of
and
the
I
full
think
scale.
that it was an hour and 30 minutes, if you believe it
That's
or not.
insane.
Let me double check that. They might be 2 hours.
That's
It
ridiculous.
has to be 2 hours, right?
Yeah, yeah, it has to be.
There's no way it's only an hour and 30.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
it's 2 hours and
insane.
17 minutes.
Okay.
That's
It's
still
still,
was too
though,
short for the
shorter than
scope.
this movie, which is a part 1 of 3.
Yeah, because this is 2 hours and 30 minutes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And so yeah, I was fucking stoked. I was like, oh yeah, like, because I thought Blade Runner 2049 was fucking incredible, and like Timothée Chalamet was the star. He's this up and coming, you know, big Hollywood actor, and the
Which is
cast
kind of
was
perfect.
insane.
Timothée Chalamet is kind of a perfect choice for Paul
It
because
was
he's
great.
like the chosen one, next star actor,
Yeah,
like Paul.
which I had this like funny thought. Well, it's not really. I guess it's funny, but it's also like kind of interesting. Is that if you look at like if he becomes a huge movie star,
Yeah,
which I would probably say who he is. He's a good movie star, I think.
he's pretty close to being
Yeah,
that already.
and but like if you compare like he's this skinny, scrawny, like just like e-boy. That's what
Yeah,
he is, the
yeah.
e-boy. And compare like the movie stars to like the 80s. You're like the male ones where it's like Schwarzenegger, Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
And like, now we're like evolving into like e-boys are skinny, uh short men. That's,
Yeah,
that's
dude.
what we're into.
Dude, we're in the twink kingdom, my
I thought that
friend.
was pretty funny.
They are
And,
gonna rule.
and
It's
he's like
true.
a
I didn't
heart,
think
and
about
he's a
that.
heartthrob. He's not like just like a
Major
people are
heartthrob.
obsessed with him.
Listen,
Um,
he's my heartthrob. He is so
Great actor.
gorgeous. Yeah,
Yeah, he's a good looking guy. Yeah.
he's an insanely, he's like,
He
when you
looks
think
like
of
he's
attractive,
12, but
yeah, right. But when you think of like attract, he's like anime protagonist
yeah,
attractive, like
he's a
that kind of
handsome.
like degree.
Yeah, that's so true. Holy shit. Yeah, he's a handsome man. And but yeah, Oscar Isaac, Javier Bardem, Zendaya, the cast
Yeah,
is crazy.
crazy.
And I'm so excited to see this, and I fucking loved it. But I'm not surprised though. That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying. Like, it's Benito News never made a bad movie in his life. Like I knew this was gonna be good, and it is very good.
yeah,
It's super epic, and I've never like seen a more like ambitious giant sci-fi movie like this. Honestly, like in my lifetime, probably because we alluded to it. This is a part 1, and they
yeah,
didn't market it that way. It
yeah,
The title comes up and it says part 1, and what
yeah,
we mean by that, it truly is a part 1. Like when this movie ends, it's almost like just beginning. Like the film, like the story is about to
to
start.
get
And
real.
what's super impressive about that, right, is that this whole movie is basically the first act of like a giant story, right?
Yeah,
And it's super engaging and entertaining throughout.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
not like bored. This entire movie is world building, and
yeah,
that's what this is. And the fact that he was able to make um this setup movie this entertaining and this beautiful and like stand on its own as one film is super impressive. Because
yeah,
I think that is such a hard task to do. Where you, first of all, the risk of just being like, we're gonna end the movie on this giant,
yeah.
just
That is a
uh,
fantastic point.
cliffhanger. Like,
That's a
dude,
fantastic point.
this movie doesn't even end. It's just like, all right, wait 2 years.
Yeah, see the
Like
rest.
yeah, see the rest of it. Like I was blown away by like how like really this is a part 1,
Yeah,
and but I wasn't upset about that because we're gonna get one more at least, or hopefully I know Gnudo only wants to do a trilogy, but we'll see how that pans out. But
yeah. I mean,
um
doing something like that is something that I have always wished that people would do, especially with book adaptations. It's just
we haven't
like
seen something like this until like since Lord of the Rings, really.
Yeah, truly. Yeah, that's actually Lord of the Rings is actually like a really great comparison in the way that this kind of
I
feels.
so wish that like Warner Brothers had the balls or like the to just let him make the whole movie like they did with Peter Jackson, where he, because they shot all three in 1 year. They just I wish he did that, because we were gonna do a movie every year.
Well, it might be. I could see them. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the reception wasn't good enough, but I could see them letting him do that for 2 and 3, part 2 and part 3, if that's the plan, because I feel like it has enough engagement now. But
people love the
yeah. So I had my entrance into Dune was actually watching the David Lynch version. That's the only thing I've seen. I really, really want to read the book, and I really wish I had at this point. But I haven't read the book. I want to. But I was super excited about this too, because sci-fi big movie sci-fi epics are one of my favorite things to go see in movies.
Don't get them a lot,
right? They're pretty rare. Yeah. Especially you get sci-fi movies, but you don't get epics like this. Not epics like this. And also it's really cool because I'm really interested in this from just being a fan of sci-fi, but also from movie history perspective, because Dune is such a loaded title. It's not just the pressure of trying to bring a great franchise to a screen. It's the pressure of trying to bring a franchise to the screen that's been beloved for our entire lifetimes and our parents' lifetimes, that has been failed to be brought to the screen correctly. And usually when shit like this happens, where you see multiple attempts, it just becomes more and more of a clusterfuck, which is like, that's how I felt too when I saw that Denis Villeneuve was doing this. Like, if he did this before Blade Runner 2049, I'd be so much more worried. But since he did Blade Runner 2049, I was just like, they found the only person in the world who could have done this. It was like he was born to make this movie, and then he did, and it's really, really good.
It's super good.
And it's one of those things too, where when I was watching it, it almost blindsided me how good it was, because I went in knowing it'd be good. I watched it and I was like, this is awesome. And then I came out of it, and it wasn't a gut punch experience of it being good, but it's just like welled within me about like, yeah, right. Yeah, it doesn't have, it's just like that introduction where it's just like, this is kind of amazing, dude. This is crazy.
I'm glad that I think I read like a review for this before I saw it, and it warned me like, hey, like go in, like you're not gonna get, there's no conclusion to it. Like it's like you're watching the first episode of something. And so, but I mean, this movie is like right off the bat, like I think the thing that I think most people are going to like notice and talk about when they first see it is the visuals and how this movie sat. Like everything technically is
masterful,
exceptional. It's like it's so good. Like Hans Zimmer is an amazing composer. He's made so many, just honestly, a stupid amount of amazing scores.
Probably the most famous contemporary composer.
This score, like the first 10 minutes, I had chills. I was like, this music is incredible.
Yeah.
I love the music. I love the sound design. I love what I also love about like the production design and like the just the aesthetic of this movie is that it's minimal, but it's so like I don't know, expressive, and it's so like fits the world so well. Like they easily could have gone so over the top with like some of the like the shields that they have, and the suits that allow them to go into Arrakis and things like that. Like they could have really made those like David Lynch's Dune, that were kind of like really loud,
too wacky almost.
Yeah, too wacky. But I love how practical everything felt. Like it felt like tangible. It felt like yeah, this is what it would look like in a world like this. And it really does transport you to another place. Like, I
Yeah.
definitely felt like that I was experiencing an alien world, which is
Yeah, yeah.
a
Well, I
big goal.
yeah, and I loved that the way that he was sort of able to create that experience was he's not just thinking in the way of trying to create the visual, although the visuals are so fucking mind-blowing in this movie,
Incredible.
but he's not trying to figure out find the way of how to like necessarily tell you through just seeing extreme alien shit that this is
Hmm.
alien shit. He's also making you feel it through the way that he shoots stuff
Yeah.
and the performances,
And
because
it's
the
super
performances,
character based. Like
yeah.
it keeps it all like there's this one of the things that I thought about was in one of the uh battle few battle sequences in this movie, where Arrakis is getting attacked and they're getting bombed, and it focuses on Josh Brolin's character, him
Yeah.
like running through this. And another filmmaker maybe would like show like wide shots of like all this construction and like all ships crashing into each other, but it keeps it grounded on the characters like
Yeah.
throughout the whole film, which makes it that's just good filmmaking.
Yeah. It
It's
makes me
good.
that makes me think. Did you see his thing he did on Vanity Fair where he was talking about the
No, I want to
box
watch
hand in the
that
box
though.
thing?
I want
You
to
should
watch
watch
that
that.
though.
It's really awesome because
Yeah, yeah,
he's he's a genius, right?
yeah,
So it's amazing
yeah,
just to listen to him talk.
yeah.
But he was talking about that scene, and the thing that really stuck
Oh,
out to
okay.
me, and it hit me why this works so well, because he was describing how, so like there's like in that scene she uses the voice on Pete on
Yes,
Paul
yeah.
and pulls him over,
Peter.
and and Denis made the point where it's just like, I could have, or we thought about doing it where you would cut to a wide and see him getting pulled across, which would communicate
Hmm.
what was happening in a literal sense.
Yeah,
But instead, what he did is that, okay, I didn't really want to shoot that. So instead, what I did was I did a push into an out of focus shot that faded to black. And then it
yeah,
reappeared him out front, and he had a mini episode of narcolepsy, which is
right.
just like, that's why this works,
Yeah.
because this, we're thinking, when you see a lot of films like this, the reason they fuck up very oftentimes with directors who aren't brave enough or don't quite know or don't have enough experience to know what they're doing will do stuff where they literally show what's happening, like
Hmm.
pulling
Right.
Peter across the room instead of like
Feeling
creating
what
a
happened.
cinematic
Yeah.
experience that
Right.
make the viewer feel what's
Right.
happening in that.
I mean,
And
I
that's
think
what
like
he did, that throughout the whole film
yeah,
phenomenally.
and I think like what yeah, that's a great point. And I think also like um what this movie really is, it's setting up kind of the world, right? So it's setting up
Yeah.
the different houses that are involved in the galaxy, the Atreides house. I don't
Yeah.
know the other names of them.
It's the it's the Horkenagers and the Empire
And
and
what are
the
the sand
soccer
people called?
perkers.
The sand
Oh,
people are
Fremen.
called
They're called the Fremen.
okay, from them. Like Zendaya and like Javier Bardem,
Yeah.
who live on Arrakis. Um, and set up the spice, which is like the major resource of this world, and it really does a good job of like showing like why this is so important and how they mine it, and all this stuff is like important to like just creating this epic story, because when we get the rest of the story, we don't need these things explained to us anymore. So it's
Yeah.
good to have the setup of this all these different houses and who's at war with who and who wants the spice and who's wants this territory. And we learn about Paul, who in this movie um, we're introduced to Paul, but a lot of there's a lot of mystery behind Paul. We still don't really know exactly what is going on with him.
Yeah.
He a lot of throughout this movie he's seeing visions of the future, really. He's seeing kind of, he goes in and out of consciousness every once in a while. Usually when he's around the spice, because the spice gives off a psychedelic quality that they're saying in
Yeah.
the movie, and he experiences these visions of Zendaya, him in power, him kind of these. Those are some of my favorite sequences in the movie. The
Yeah.
dream sequences and kind of these amazing kind of visual, just kind of spurts of. It's great setup, man.
Yeah.
It's amazing,
Well,
like just foreshadowing
and it's
or
also
whatever what's to come. You
and
know.
it's also great because it is, I'm imagining that's sort of how something like that felt like when you're reading the book. And in addition to that,
Hmm.
it's a really great way to use like the medium of film, because you see in
Yeah.
blockbusters, or like you think of a Marvel movie,
Yeah.
and Marvel
Which are
movies, like
great,
you,
but
yeah,
yeah.
they are great, but when you would only see shit like that when they clearly establish like a flashback is happening.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
not going to like purposely
Yeah,
distort time
yeah.
for a feeling experience to get the feeling right.
Mhm,
But this is like what's so phenomenal about what film can do, because
mhm.
like, yeah, he threw all that shit in there and it was rather like chaotic and abrupt, but you can follow it and you know
Yeah,
what's happening even if you don't immediately get it or
right.
understand, or like it's going to be revealed what's actually it means in the second movie.
Mhm.
It's still like that's
It's
like the power of
engaging. It's
filmmaking and
yeah, right.
engaging, and
Yeah,
you're in it,
yeah,
you're
right.
with it.
Absolutely. And I also love kind of the different like I think Timothy Chalamet, as we joke about him,
Yeah,
he's great. He's great in this movie. Like
he is.
I
He
thought
is
he
so
was
good.
a really good choice for this movie. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't. I've been a fan of him since probably Iron Man. Like I was one of those guys that I saw that movie and I loved him, and I was like, this
Yeah.
guy. I was part of the train that was like, this guy's a great actor.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny to see him now. He's just such a like heartthrob and such a
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
kind of mean in a way, but um, he's great in this movie. I just thought like his the way that Paul is super um naive. He's like a young boy. He's a young man who is confused and kind of scared almost to take the throne. He's going to take the throne at some point.
Yeah.
And what happens in this movie is his father, played amazingly by Oscar Isaac. I thought he was fucking awesome in this
Yeah,
movie.
I really
All the
liked him
acting, all the
too.
performances were incredible. Um,
Yeah.
and like a lot of he's dealing with becoming king or becoming the throne of the Atreides house, and the mantra of this movie is fear is the mind killer. Where
Yeah, so
you
good.
have
Ooh,
to
so cool.
you have to, and the way that they illustrate that for because some person who maybe isn't watching this movie closely or just doesn't really get the point of the story maybe is that you could maybe say that a lot of the characters are emotionless and don't have a lot of they don't show a lot of feeling. But there's a reason for that. Is that these people, the trader's house, that's what they're taught is that to not show fear and to not show but ultimately you can't really. I mean, like I thought that like Jessica, whose mother is an
Oh,
incredible
she's
character as
so good
well.
too.
She's actually maybe I can't wait to see the sequels because I think she's a fascinating character. And
Yeah.
just the way, just her love for Paul and helping him through this, learning his powers or whatever he has, right? This
Yeah.
the voice and all these things and trying to like, we don't even really know what that is. I mean,
Yeah.
like after this movie we kind of know that Paul had or the Atreides house has this ability to basically like speak telepathy or speak
Yeah,
like
Paul's specifically interesting because of him of him being the son of his
Yeah.
father, who has the lineage and the end
Yeah.
of
Right.
Atreides,
Yeah.
and his mother, who's part of this group of witches or whatever, who
Mm-hmm.
have this connection to the voice.
Right.
So he has both. He has
Mm-hmm.
the bloodline of being a king and this supernatural
Yeah.
power.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And he also lines up with like this prophecy that's going around in like on
Yeah. Right. He's
Arrakis
the
and stuff of
chosen one,
him.
man.
He's the chosen one, right? He's the
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker
It's,
before Luke
well, it's
Skywalker
also,
existed.
well, yeah, man. Well, what's interesting is like the main reason we were watching Justin and I decided to rewatch the Rise of Skywalker last night. We hadn't seen it since theaters. We were like, let's just see how bad it is.
Oh
It's really
man,
bad.
oh,
But
it sucks. I hate that movie.
but spice is actually the main resource in the Star Wars universe as well. They don't talk about it a lot, but like it comes
Spice is
from,
in Star Wars?
yeah, it's very like very minor. Mostly the prequels and then just like new
Like the same kind of spice as Dune?
no. It's not like they don't it's so insignificant that it's not like it's not they
Okay.
don't like you don't see it. It's just reference that it's like a major resource. Um
But like the a
I
major
think they
resource like the spice from Dune, that
yeah,
kind of
well that's what I'm
resource.
saying is like it comes from Dune. Like well, like you're saying is that like the Luke Skywalker Star Wars is inspired by Dune in a lot of
Yeah,
ways.
right. Right.
And so that's super interesting, like especially if you watch before you see this movie and knowing that the book was, had some influence on tons of different sci-fi things, but
Right.
um, especially like Star Wars, even like the prequels. I kept thinking about kind of the prequel era Star Wars in this, and just the different, the politics and space politics,
Right. Right.
and obviously this is much better than that, but like it just reminded me of that. But
Yeah.
there are so many incredible scenes in this movie. Probably my favorite scene is the Fear Box scene. I thought that was amazing when Paul puts his hand in a box and he has to deal with the pain and like just that like trial that he has to like go through. I always love
Yeah.
it in like movies when like the chosen one has to like go through like some test or like
Yeah.
trial. And that one was just like so horrifying. And like the way that Timmy played that role
Uh-huh.
like was you just felt it. Like you just felt that pain and that Hans Zimmer like crazy, like weird as fuck, like choir coming in, just like singing this
Yeah.
really like just off-putting melody. It was just so like so effective. I thought that scene was just so great, and you see
Yeah.
like all these completely different crazy quick jump cuts of all these crazy visions and stuff that he's having while experiencing this.
And that's actually really interesting that because that scene again when Denis was talking about it in the Vanity Fair video, he was talking about how that scene was really important to him because one, he thought it was really effective, but also
Yeah.
because that was when he knew that he casted Chalamet
Oh yeah.
correctly. But that was also funny because when I was in the theater, that was also the scene that convinced me that he
hmm
was the right choice,
Yeah.
which is so it's
Yeah.
really interesting that communicated through that experience
Right.
where it's like it was really a trial for Paul, but
hmm
also for Timothy Chalamet to
Of
say,
course.
"Can you portray
Yeah.
Paul?" And
Right.
he does
Yeah.
really, really
Yeah.
well.
He's excellent. And there are there are some moments that I think I think he's kind of like a little over the top, like when he's like I just thought of like some of the scenes where like they build that cool device where they have like they could like make a tent like in the sand.
Oh yeah,
Um but they're like in there and he has like a vision and he's like screaming and like like some of that was a little like over the top I thought, but
yeah.
other than that, I mean it's cheesy kind of like space opera, like
I don't
shit.
know.
But
I kind of like that. I
yeah,
thought that scene was effective.
yeah.
I get where you're coming from though. I do get that. I do get that. I think my favorite scenes from the movie.
It's just like a a boy crying, you know.
Sure, sure. My favorite scenes are like without a doubt when we got the sandworm, dude.
Yeah,
Like
it's
the
incredible.
scene when the first scene when it consumes the ornithopter,
Yeah,
and also that scene at the very ending, which is, I feel like already an iconic scene when the
yeah.
sandworm comes up and looks at
Mm-hmm.
Paul.
Mm-hmm.
That
And
that
stops.
shot that
Right.
shot is like what I see that movie as.
Yeah,
Like
right.
I
Yeah.
see that movie as that single
And
frame.
that's like a good example of using CGI correctly.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the sandworm, is designed beautifully, but what makes that scene so amazing is the scale. The
Yeah.
way that the shot is composed. Cinematically, the way that the
Yeah.
shot is composed. It's not look at the CGI effect and how beautiful it is. No, it's like we're using this cinematic tool as CGI that creating it in a visually striking scene.
Yeah.
Even if that thing was somehow practical, it would still work,
Yeah,
because
and
it's
I mean, and the
striking
other
image.
thing too about why it works so well is in addition to like the genius of the idea and just like how technically good everything is, it's also like for me the simple factors of what really do it is the anticipation, the Jaws factor, right? You
Yeah.
you have the
Yeah, oh
anticipation
yeah,
of
yeah.
wanting to see it
Sure.
and wanting that reward, but not seeing it and just getting like the feeling and the
Yeah.
impact of
Oh
it.
yeah, man.
But then the
Yeah.
other thing is lighting. Like this
Yeah.
is a thing that blows my mind about like a lot of crappy
CGI
CG
stuff.
shit.
Yeah.
It's like they don't
It
light it.
really is.
It's just fully lit up. It's just like why is this not
Yeah.
mostly in
It
shadows?
really is.
I never
Yeah.
understand that. It's like how can
Yeah.
you why would you ever direct something that
Yeah.
has something that's really CG that's fully
So that's
I
obviously
understand
fake,
that I do get that it could be that it's really difficult to match lighting and stuff, but it's like why shoot it at all if you're not gonna
Yeah.
do that. I don't know the technicalities of it, so maybe I'm being ignorant to a degree, but I'm not ignorant about what works and what doesn't. And
Well,
it really
isn't that
works
what they
when it's
talk
lit
about all
well.
the time? Like with CGI, like bad CGI, is because it's like you can really see, like, because it's just lit bad. Like I think that's
Right.
just like a big like thing in CGI, where it's
Right, right.
like you have to light it correctly to make it look. That's why like that's probably why the Jurassic, like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park, is only in the dark. You don't see it in broad daylight.
Yeah. And
Um,
the other thing too is that in addition to it making this it outlines the CGI looking bad when you don't light it. Not lighting a scene is so fucking boring. It's like why
yeah.
am I watching a
Oh
movie
yeah, of
that's like
course.
fully
Yeah,
lit? It's like it's all about that lighting, man, that
yeah.
contrast and that I love. Yeah, so that the way that you could just really see how good like the cinematography and lighting
Mm-hmm.
was in this movie, which just goes to which is him being a good director, right? That's
Yeah.
like one of the phenomenal things about 20 all his movies.
Mm-hmm.
2049 especially is another thing about that is I
Right.
just think about how mind-boggling
That's Roger
the
Deakins,
lighting
man.
is in that. Yeah, right.
Roger
So
Deakins. I don't know who shot this movie,
I
but
don't know either. I don't know. They
um,
did a good ass job though. I
yeah.
gotta say, they did a good ass
Um,
job.
yeah, man. I mean, it's it's just. I mean, there's not even like that much. Oh yeah, I also want to mention Jason Momoa, who was like
Oh, he's
really
really
fun.
good.
Like he's so. I mean, I like Jason Momoa. I think he's a really good actor in the right role, which he's only played one type of role, but he does it like really well. I mean,
Yeah,
I think his actual character was very needed, because a lot of these characters are, like I was saying, like very emotionless and very, let's get the job done, let's fucking do this. And he is charismatic as fuck. I mean, he
yeah,
comes in, he's just like, let's go, man, let's go, Paul. Like he it adds like a levity to this movie that I think was needed.
yeah.
And one criticism I also have is I didn't love the hand-to-hand combat scenes.
I'm actually glad you
I
said that.
I I think, like, I enjoyed them because of the, like, I like the shield thing. I thought that was like just original, and like I've never seen that like visually, like just how like the shield worked and stuff like that. But I think the hand-to-hand combat stuff was just kind of lame, and it was just kind of slow, and it just felt movie. It just felt like just regular movie choreography. Like it didn't feel. And when we have things like John Wick and like all these, Marvel movies like Shang-Chi, like all these amazing,
Yeah.
choreographed fight scenes, and we see a big movie like this, we're expecting like some really cool uh fight scenes. But and I'm not saying that like this movie had to have like a fucking Shang-Chi bus sequence,
Yeah.
but like I'm just saying like it was kind of just like not that engaging. Like
Well, yeah, I agree with
it
that. I
kind of reminded
actually,
me of like this is such an amazing movie, but it kind of reminded me of like the Dark Knight scenes, like the hand-to-hand Batman
yeah,
scenes in
dude,
those,
spot on with that
which like
comparison.
I think those movies are obviously incredible, but I think the fight scenes are actually like very boring in those movies.
Yeah.
I just
Well,
don't think they're amazing at all.
that's the thing. I totally agree with that, and I think that Dune too. I wasn't gonna bring that up
Not that
because
that's
I
the focus in Dune,
right,
like yeah,
But it's
like
I mean it's significant because the fight
yeah,
scenes are important parts
there's
of
a
the
lot,
story when they
yeah,
happen, and there's a war going on, so the
especially
fighting
the
is
end,
important.
the
Yeah.
end, the you know the big climactic moment, I guess you would say, at the character with Paul's character, where he kills, the
Yeah.
other,
Right.
yeah, get in there,
I,
his honor.
what like the thing for me is that it's I haven't studied or watched or really been able to articulate what it is like about fights I do and don't like, because like I like things that are super like martial arts based. It's like
Yeah,
super fast paced and technical. I love shit like that. You know,
I
when
do
you
too.
shot it with not crazy stupid steady cam.
Yeah,
And I also like it where it's really simple, calculated like brutality or something, like
hmm,
drive fighting and violence, where it's just
yeah,
like
right,
him beating up a guy
yeah,
in a really
yeah,
like brutal, simple kind of way. So I
yeah,
like these spectrums of the things. And this was an example of, or I also like shit like Crouching Tiger, Hidden
yeah,
Dragon,
right,
where it's like super floaty and like all
yeah,
over the
yeah, yeah,
place and like fantasy based. So I like a big spectrum of fighting. But
yeah,
Dune and Batman are perfect examples of fights that I like the least of
hmm,
all like type of fighting. And in Dune, I think you're right.
yeah,
It's like the fight scenes are shot right, like the
yeah.
cinematography and the
It's the
editing is
choreography,
shot,
really.
but it's the choreography that doesn't
Yeah,
have. It's like
that
it just
visceral nature,
what it
that
just feels like to me is it just feels actually some of the some of Paul's stuff felt kind of good to me. Like when he
yeah.
was like it felt like he was doing
I don't
something
think
technical that was
I don't
intentional,
think any of it is bad. I just think it's
right?
like
But
it's
it's like that phenomenon of just like they're just like spinning and then people
mhm.
fall down and then
Yeah.
someone else gets hit and it's
I'll
like
give you a
it's like
good
I
Jason Momoa fight scene when he like just kills when he dies when he
yeah.
fights his guys
And
in
it's
the
actually
hallway.
pretty
It's just kind of,
unmemorable.
yeah, it's cool. I think it's more memorable because of like the shields. Like, it's just like an interesting like visually it's cool. Like them like stabbing each other and seeing
Yeah.
the blue shield, and when it's like getting deeper, it's red, and like
Yeah.
that visual thing is really cool. That keeps it like interesting to watch, but like it's just kind of it's just very slow, and it just feels like they're going like, all right, right, left, ow, right,
Yeah.
left, yeah, elbow, like it's
Yeah.
just like
You know, that's actually something that, and I love this scene from Blade Runner 2049, but the fighting when they're like in the boat and
yeah,
those two people are
yeah.
fighting, that scene is
That
great, but that
that to
fight
me,
wasn't
yeah, the
great to
fight
me.
like you're looking at the choreography. That to me was more like like emotionally powerful, like
Yes.
what was going on, like the story of
Yeah.
like
The
what was
situation,
happening.
like the
So
situation.
I felt the punches in that when I know what you're saying.
Yeah. And it was a similar kind of like loose, I don't, it's not loose choreography.
Yeah.
It's something about, I agree
It
with that
just feels like
100%.
it doesn't have any like weight to it. It just feels
Yeah,
like
yeah, it doesn't have the
yeah,
weight. It doesn't have
yeah.
the weight. Yeah.
Um
The my criticism of Dune that I was thinking about, which is
there's
not
no
really,
ending.
it's not, yeah, but for me, it's more of like how heavy the exposition is in the beginning. is like
yeah.
really I don't really find that to be a problem
Yeah. It's
because it's
needed.
Dune and
Yeah.
it's so complicated that you have to
Yeah.
do shit like that. And also it was really immersive in an atmospheric and world building sense. But
Yeah.
it was one of those things that when I watch it
It
a
would
second
drag
time,
on,
I'm gonna love it.
Yeah.
But for me, it really took like getting to the sandworm scene to be
Right.
like, I'm fucking
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
let's go. But like the
Sandworm.
first bit is it's really slow. It's really
Yeah.
good, but it is very, very slow.
That's why I like it. It's funny you mention that because I'm usually the guy who's like, I hate exposition movies. But the way that like this movie did it was I was just super into the world. Like I was into it because it's
Yeah,
cool. And like
yeah,
just, like the atmosphere, and I like that we're kind of learning. I think it's a good choice to have Paul kind of be learning about this as well. In the
yeah,
beginning where he's watching, the whatever he's watching, like the academy paper or whatever
yeah.
his schooling or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I thought that was a cool way of introducing us to the spice and all the different houses and stuff like that.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, it's definitely drags on for sure because
And
it's just a lot.
I think the other frustration, it's not, again, it's not a real frustration I had. It's just like I'm just sort of reporting on the feelings that I had while I was watching
Yeah.
it, is that like it's so complicated
Mm-hmm.
and it was done in a way where it's like, okay, I'm missing things that need to be missed to be able to execute this vision, but I wish I knew this thing. Like I
Yeah.
wish I knew what, like for example, why the emperor betrays the Atreides, things
Right.
like that. Like that's a question that it's like, I know the reason for that is there, and most
Mm-hmm.
people who know the story know why, but I'm not familiar enough with this to follow, and I'm not able to kind of
Sure.
just feel it. It's just sort
Yeah.
of like there's a couple of logical things where it's like, I know that there's answers to this,
Yeah.
but I don't know them, and it's a little bit frustrating.
So that's the
Um,
thing about like the part one thing, is like
yeah,
when you have like this is a part one of a full movie, like a
right.
big movie that he's telling. It's not like a Star Wars, for example, where
Sure.
Star Wars, you have questions for sure. Like there's questions that make no sense in the first Star Wars. Like they really don't make any sense. You're like if you just saw the first Star Wars and you had no knowledge of the other two, you're like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Or um, but when we have the fuller grand scheme of things, I'm guessing that when we get the full trilogy, all these things will be explained.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I haven't seen this again. I do want to see it again. And maybe that particular question, I can't really think about why. Uh, yeah, I think I was a little. I always just thought it was like it's a war, and like that the emperor is just like, I don't, I don't, I need to kill the king of the trainees. But there's probably a deeper
Yeah.
meaning.
Well, like, and like the confusion I have for that question specifically, like, why were they betrayed? Because it makes
Yeah,
sense why the Harkonians or whoever would betray them or would want to set that revolt,
dude,
because
how about the
they want to rock us back. But I don't understand why the Emperor would support that. And it seems like it was sort of a planned thing from the beginning to get them in there, and they sabotage the switch to them owning Arrakis, to the Atreides family owning Arrakis, so then
mhm,
they could come in and really obliterate them while
right?
by combining their forces. But like, I didn't understand why like the switch was necessary. Like, if you just wanted the Harkonians, if the Emperor wanted the Harkonians to be in power again, why
Mhm,
did you even give it to the Atreides house in the first place? Which,
yeah,
like, I'm not like, I'm saying this because I don't understand Persian. The
yeah.
answer is out there. It's in the fucking
It's
book.
definitely there.
It's out there. It's not a
Yeah,
plot hole that I'm
yeah,
complaining about. It's that, like, why does this happen? I don't quite understand. And I
yeah,
didn't quite get it from the movie. And I don't know if I shouldn't know it or if I should know it. That's really
yeah.
my
Right,
question. Like,
right.
because you're right. It's like, this is the first part of a fuller story. So
Yeah,
it's like, should I know the answer to this or should I not? Well, I'll figure that out once I see the second movie. But
Right.
right now, I don't know. I should just read the book. I should just look it up. But
Yeah,
that's
I
like
mean,
that's a very small
there are
criticism about
also,
it
I mean,
because
this
the
is the type
exposition.
of, yeah, there's a type of thing, this is the type of movie too, where it's like, you, I mean, so much information. There's,
Right.
like, you're not going to get everything,
Right.
so, like, the answer might be in the movie. You just kind of missed it.
Sure.
And, yeah, I mean, I also thought it was funny that, they're marketing Zendaya is like being
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
movie.
She's not.
She's not. Basically like a music video character. She's like,
Yeah. That's so true.
she's gonna be in the the sequels, obviously, like a
Yeah.
lot. But I thought that was funny.
That's super funny. And I
I
think
just like the idea of like somebody going to see it because
Zendaya.
Zendaya's in it.
Yeah. 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 No, that's a good point. And I mean,
Zendaya and Timothy Chalamet, the two big tween movie stars, baby,
yeah.
in
I'm
a cool
excited.
movie.
I'm excited. I like Zendaya in Spider-Man a lot,
Mhm.
but like I don't know. I don't know
I
if I
don't think
really.
you've seen her. Did you see Euphoria?
Yeah, I haven't seen her do like really
Okay,
good
yeah,
shit.
that's
So
then you
I
haven't
I
seen
haven't seen
anything.
her. So like that's what I'm excited, I guess, really about like with Dune, because I've only seen her like I like her in
Yeah,
Spider-Man,
she's
but it's
great.
like
Yeah,
I don't like necessarily adore her performance that
yeah,
much, if you know what I mean. I
sure.
think she's a really good Mary Jane character. So it's really exciting to be able to see her. Really, I guess I could just watch Euphoria.
Euphoria is
I could
amazing.
do that.
You should watch Euphoria. Euphoria is incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
want to watch
fucking
that.
hard to watch. But it's really good. Actually, you might like hate it. Um, because it's super hard to watch. It's like it's very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
On purpose. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
like it's about teen drama, but
Oh
like a
God.
teen drama in the like realistic sense. You
Yeah.
know, meaning the anxiety and the uh cringy and the pressure of being a teenager is shown in the way that it actually is. So
Uh-huh.
therefore, it's
Well, it's combined with that and like trauma and drug abuse too, right?
yes, and
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of things. It's great. Uh, it is really good. It's hard.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man, this movie's fucking cool. I mean, I think we basically talked about like everything that we could talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
Yeah,
a great
because
setup movie. It sets up this world. It looks amazing. The action scenes that are in the movie, minus kind of the hand to hand stuff, are super fun.
yeah.
Like when Jason Momoa like gets out of the
Oh
planet,
yeah.
like that was such a fucking awesome. That was kind of like unexpected too, because like Google News never made like a straight up like adventure like
Mhm.
action movie. Like they were trying to figure out it's not an
It's not
action
really
movie
that.
nor
No.
an adventure movie. It's a pretty hard sci-fi film. And I think that's what kind of turned a lot of people off to
Yeah.
that movie is that it's such a slow, like hard
Yeah.
sci-fi epic movie
Dirge
that
paced sci-fi movie.
I think people like and so is Blade Runner though. I think this is expectations and I don't know, expecting like action and
Yeah.
like Blade Runner doesn't have action in it either. But I get it. But but it was cool to see like the dude like do like action scenes that was pretty cool to
I
see. And I
agree.
thought that was really fun and looked really again like all CGI all obviously it looked amazing. It looked
Yeah.
so good. Like it just looked just so realistic within the world and just like so engaging.
Yeah, and he did a really good job. I guess like the one other thing I wanted to mention about
And a
it
lot of
was
this is
just
practical too, but we have to talk
right.
about
Well, that's like actually
a
that's what
lot
I
of
was
the
going to
stuff.
say, was talking about the sets and stuff,
Yeah, they
was
shot
how
like Jordan
phenomenal.
and like they shot
Yeah,
like real deserts and shit.
the locations were really, really good
That's the
and done in
thing.
a way where they were recognizable but still very alien.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
like the
Oh yeah.
all of the settings too, like the houses, like the
Mhm.
Paul's room. They had a
Yeah, I
very
love
limited
Paul.
number
I
of
love Paul's
spaces that
room.
they returned to, and that was, yeah, that was really, really well
Yeah,
done.
the production design is just super amazing. Everybody involved in this, just the sound is also. I mean, it's just it's crazy. That's really why you go see this movie, like in a theater. Is like the sound is it's like gargantuan. It's like
Yeah.
it's insane. Um,
And this is
yeah,
this is also a testament. Well, I just had this thought because in reality, you have people who like suck at their job every once in a while, no matter where you're at. But in
uh,
like the movie business, most of those people working, and especially when they're working on movies, are fucking professionals, right? So
yeah,
like this goes to show that it's like if you have a director and some people in it who are leading it, these people who are being told what to do in a way where it will all come together in a collective vision,
yeah,
they can create the technical stuff is honestly a given most of the time. Like we're
yeah.
not
It is.
working with
It is.
people
Yeah,
who don't know how to do stuff. And it's just so wonderful when we
yeah,
have those people who know how to technically produce this shit consistently and are just really
yeah.
good at their jobs meet with someone who has a real vision and knows
Well,
like
yeah,
where to
exactly.
direct those
That's
people.
what's cool. Yeah,
It's
dude, that's
magic.
what's awesome. It's like, yeah, it's just like amazing. Plus, that's why I love like these big films that are made by like visionary people because
Yeah.
you're like they have access to not just all this money, but the best people in the industry, you
Yeah.
know, and like use these tools to their disposal, that they could, create the sandworm, maybe like
So
that
good.
production company, like, like who made that, who made did the visual effects for this movie. If it was a different filmmaker, you know, they're they're going off of the filmmaker and the art department's design of the worm, but
Yeah.
it's it's ultimately the filmmaker's job to how to show the worm and how to incorporate these VFX into the movie. And so, like, yeah, it's amazing when a great filmmaker who, at the end of the day, is a great collaborator, is, you know, collaborating with like the best people that are
Yeah.
working in the industry, and this is what you get. You get
Yeah.
this masterful movie on a technical level, it's just a masterful movie. It's just
Yeah.
you don't get better than this. You really
No.
like blockbuster wise, you just don't. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
It's the
just
it's the it's the best kind of blockbuster
yeah,
possible.
it's forward thinking, it's visually just spectacular. It's like fun, there's sense of like, real just like with Jason Momoa's character and like, it's pretty heavy, just the subject matter and stuff like that. But it's a fun adventure sci-fi at the end of the day, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's just
Yeah.
done in like a very artful, creative way. But it's not so artful that you're gonna lose people. You're gonna
Yeah.
lose your audience.
Yeah.
That's what I love about Green All Dude is when you can make like a super artsy fartsy thing like Enemy, you know, and then he can also make this, which is
Very
made for
accessible.
mainstream audiences, but it has such a, you know, it's such the art film, inclinations and just
Yeah. Artistic
it's a good movie,
subtext.
man. A
Yeah.
good movie.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean now it's
yeah,
like at the point where I'm really envious of people in the future who get to look back on this because it really
yeah, this
seems
is
like
gonna.
part 2 is going to be awesome and I really wish it
I
came out next week.
there's honestly this has the potential to be like one of the most epic things ever created. It does though. I mean,
Yeah, you're
think
right.
about it. I
I
mean,
agree.
if he ultimately makes two more 2.5 hour movies that are
Yeah,
this good and it progresses the story and dude, like it's gonna be like
forget about it.
watched for decades. Like
Yeah.
gonna be like studied and then at some point our kids are gonna be like, how the fuck did the studio even let him do this?
Well, let me tell you a story, kid.
That's why I'm also excited because this does not happen. Like since Lord of the Rings, really, that they let like Peter Jackson like make like a giant epic, the way that he wanted to do it. You
Yeah.
know, we get like crazy sequels and big blockbusters, but it's Spider-Man. People are gonna go see Spider-Man. You can have I could be directing it, and people are gonna still go see it.
Yeah.
Star Wars, fucking Michael Bay could be directing a new like Star Wars movie. And it's gonna go. They're gonna go see it.
Rise of Skywalker is basically directed by Michael Bay.
It's a little better than that. That would be like, yeah, that would be rough. Speaking of Michael Bay, there's a new movie coming out called Ambulance, but it's the LA is abbreviated, so it's like Ambulance. So it's like LA, it's like an LA like cop like ambulance movie. And like I started watching the trailer. I started
Wait,
watching
it's
the trailer in front of this movie. It stars Jake Gyllenhaal. It's like Jake Gyllenhaal and like this other really good actor. And I was like, why is Jake Gyllenhaal in a Michael Bay movie? I mean, good for
yeah.
him, get that money, but also, what the fuck?
It's Ambu LA
Yeah,
Ants.
that's what I said.
That's hilarious. Hyphenated. Oh, speaking of shit that played before a movie theater, uh
LAMs.
there was that I
Sorry,
saw that
Jake Gyllenhaal.
I saw a trailer that was Matt Damon,
uh,
who I was sitting in about to watch a Dune, and all these movie trailers came up,
yeah.
movies, like the new Ghostbusters movie,
Oh,
other
dude, we didn't
shit.
talk. I saw Toucan. I didn't even
Huh?
talk about that.
What?
Toucan, you know what that is?
No.
You don't know what Toucan is?
What? Tutane?
Toucan. I think that's how you say it. It's French.
Oh, yeah,
Dude, I
dude. Oh,
saw
I
that.
want to see that shit so bad.
Yo,
Is
it
that
is
good?
weird. I mean, like, I liked it. I think I would like to see it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. You definitely watch it for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna recommend it to people. But
I'm
it's
gonna watch it.
good.
I'm gonna watch it.
You
I'm
know what it's
excited to watch
about,
it.
right?
No, I don't know anything about it. I've only seen
I'm contemplating whether to say it.
don't say it. Don't say it.
I
I'll watch
won't.
it. I
But
want to
it
watch
is
it.
out there.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm really
And in a
excited to
way
see
that
it.
you're either gonna be like, that was cool, or like that was really stupid.
I watched Lamb instead of going to see that movie, and
Yeah.
I kind of wish I saw that movie instead because
I haven't
Lamb
seen
is
Lamb yet.
cool, but you should. I think you would like Lamb. It's a really cool movie, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't my favorite thing I've ever seen
Yeah.
in my life.
Well, so you only have a few favorites.
Yeah, I only have a few. That ain't one.
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to tell you about this crazy commercial.
Yeah.
So there's all these movie trailers coming out, and then Matt Damon popped up, and he was
Yeah.
like, it turned into a car ad. It's like, this is random. What's going on? Matt Damon just doing this thing. He was talking about all of these adventurers like climbing Mount Everest and
Yeah.
discovering, and Columbus discovering the Americas,
Christopher Discovery.
which is, well, actually, I don't know if I don't know if that's what they were depicting. But anyways, they were showing all these feats, and they showed like humans going to space, and he was talking about how great humanity was, and he said, and at these times we have to remember one thing: fortune favors the brave. And it like zooms into the sun, and then it's a crypto ad. I was like, what the fuck is going
Yeah, baby.
on? A
Crypto, baby.
crypto ad with Matt Damon just interrupted my movie trailers. This
That's
is insane.
hilarious.
And then it went right back into movie trailers. It was very jarring to me.
There's like, do you have an AMC chain? Is that where you see your movies, or like
What is my thing?
chain?
I
Is
think it's a Cinemark.
Okay. AMC has this hilarious new like ad before the movies where I guess they hired Nicole Kidman to do like a promo for like one of those like things like you know, you're at the movies, like get
Yeah.
ready, like one of
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
And it is so funny, dude. Like she walks up and she's like, they obviously filmed it like after the pandemic.
Uh-huh.
And it's like this dramatic ass like scene where she like walks into the movie theater and she's like, movies are everything. Movies are the power of movies. She's like goes on and on and on. And she like sits down and like watches this movie and like in complete awe. And it's like shot like a fucking like Oscar movie. It's
Yeah.
very funny.
That's hilarious.
Um but yeah, I guess I could just mention a couple quick weird movies that I saw.
Yeah. I'm curious.
Cocaine is absolutely bizarre. That
I want
was
to see that.
that's the Cannes it won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival this
Oh,
year.
I didn't know it won.
Yeah, which
Excuse
which
me.
was like, you know, I don't know what that's like the kind of movie that like, and I think this is a positive about it, but it's the type of thing where you watch the trailer and you're like, whoa, that looks cool, and then you see the movie and it is nothing like the trailer,
Uh
like
yeah.
like I was like, what am I watching? Like I thought this, I thought this just completely different tone than the trailer. That being said, I mean it's super interesting movie, and I think like if you're into art cinema, you should 100% see it.
Yeah.
It's a bold ass movie, that is really interesting. And it's not like so whacked out and weird that like your audience, like a normal audience person, like will be like, "What's going?" It's not like watching
Yeah.
Climax or like Jasper Noé or something.
Yeah.
It's not that, but it's definitely a weird movie. Definitely a weird movie. A lot of sex in it. And here's a
Hell
funny
yeah.
story. I don't want to give away what it's actually about. Is sex related,
Okay.
and so I watched it on a plane coming back from LA, and so there's one particular scene, and you will 150% know what I'm talking about when you see the film. The craziest scene of the movie by far. Um, she's having sex, it's a sexual scene, very aggressive.
Uh-huh.
And I'm watching this I'm watching this movie on a plane. And like
Uh-huh.
there's a guy like next to me on the like far seat, and I'm just like kind of putting my screen down a little bit. And right when like the most insane shit happens, the flight attendant walks up right behind me with the drink cart. He's like, "You want a drink?" Like
Don't look.
it was. I was so embarrassed. I was like, "Oh my god!" I felt like I needed to like explain. I was like, "Oh, it's
It's a
it's an
movie. It's a
art
movie.
film. The movie's not a porn. I'm not watching a porn here." Um, so yeah, so that was super weird. The French Dispatch is incredible. Saw that in LA, the new Wes Anderson movie. We'll probably talk about that when you see it, probably,
Definitely.
because I mean,
Definitely. It's Wes Anderson.
strap in. I mean, it's if you thought Grand Budapest was a lot, this is a lot. This is like probably his most like um biggest movie for sure.
That's cool.
Like in
That's super
terms of
cool.
like scale, story, just things that he's trying to do. And I absolutely loved it. I loved it. Probably my favorite movie of the year so far. But like I could see why some critics were turned off by it because
Sure.
it is a lot. Like it's a lot. And if you're not a fan of Wes Anderson and his style, you're not like really on board, you will fucking hate this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of him and all his movies. So like my sister and I walked out and like we look at each other and we're like, he's getting too powerful. Like he's just getting too like he's just on just a different level when it comes to production design and just mise en scène in his films and just the
Yeah.
way that he constructs movies is just it's just getting bonkers. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know where he goes from here. I mean, I don't. I mean, it's crazy. And then I
I'm
saw
super
that.
excited. I'm super
Then I
excited.
saw Halloween Kills, which was very disappointing.
Oh.
It's fun. It depends on Halloween Kills. It all depends on what you see Halloween for. Like,
Yeah.
what are you in for? Like, do you want to be scared? Are you looking for a good story? Well, that's not what this Halloween is. So I don't know why like some of the critics who reviewed this movie like made me laugh because I was just like what did you expect? Like they're like it's the whole movie is just Michael killing people, and it's like yeah. I mean like what? But I will say that like I think Halloween 2018 was like eons better because even though like that movie had like a story that like was fine. It was like Lori was, dealt with trauma. I gotta kill the eagle, but the eagle's back. It was
Yeah.
serviceable, and it was
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought it was done in a tasteful way. And there's a lot of callbacks to the original, and which is one of my favorite horror movies, the original Halloween. And so, like, I was super excited for this one, and like it picks up like literally the minute the first one ends. And if you're there at the end of Halloween 2018, Lori gets stabbed, like she gets like severely hurt. And so Lori is like not in the movie a lot in the
Oh,
second one.
interesting. Yeah.
And what they what they decide to do with the story with this one, it's super stupid. And like I totally will see if you see this and you absolutely hate it and just like don't get anything out of it because it is a bad movie. Like
Yeah.
characters are the characters are god awful except for like the main
Oh.
ones like Judy Greer and like she's great and Allison. Like the characters that we already know are good, but the the new ones that they introduce are rough. And yes, I know it's a slasher movie. I understand like characters are supposed to be stupid, they're getting killed off, but come on, not this stupid. Like
Yeah.
some of these
Yeah.
characters are like morons. Like I mean, just completely moronic. And but I mean, and there's no fear at all. Like it's not scary, like even a little bit.
Mm.
But I did have I see these movies for Michael Myers and like the kills and
Yeah.
like in that part it did kind of satisfy me. Like there is like Michael is cool in the movie and his kills are really cool. It's that's like all you want to see. Like I think you'll be happy with it.
Yeah.
But like, you're looking for like a story and like a real like good plot, dude, not this. But I will say the this is also a weird movie because this is a trilogy. If you remember, like they
Yeah. So
shot
there's one after this.
that's coming out next year, and this is like a middle chapter. And
Yeah.
so it's weird for me to like be like, yeah, it is kind of weird because it doesn't end. It's kind of like Dune. It doesn't end. Like it ends on a cliffhanger. But like for a Halloween movie, it's kind of like weird, like because it's just setting up like Laurie and Michael are gonna fight. And it's like yeah, like that's what happened in the first one. We really needed a trilogy, like to
Come
to to
on.
stretch the story out that how like Laurie and Michael were gonna fight. Like wow, wow, I can't wait. But that's only like the fifth time or sixth time that that's happened. Let's see, Halloween 2, Halloween H2O, Halloween 2018. Maybe like four. Those are just all the movies Laurie's in.
Yeah.
But um,
Well, that kind of
yeah.
sucks.
So, but it's entertaining. I mean, it's
Yeah.
fun. Like I like the Halloween movies, and like the thing is, like if you're comparing this one to like movies like Halloween 4 or like Halloween 5, it's better than those, like
Well,
definitely.
that is something. That is something we can give it.
Yeah.
They can give it
No,
that.
it's definitely like Michael is definitely like the best part of it. Like the
Yeah,
kills are really fun. It's a good time. It's just
yeah.
kind of like disappointing in the sense of like, wow, they really just didn't have a they didn't. It was almost like Blumhouse was like, make 2 more movies, go.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, and then
it
they
was
did.
like, oh, we were like bang out the script. It was
Yeah.
like, okay, there's a there's a mob. The city of Haddonfield wants to kill Michael Myers because it's something that happened 40 years ago. It's stupid. It's dumb, but you know, what else? I think that was it. I think that was the only 3 new movies. Oh, Last Night in Soho was great. I think we'll talk about that too, though. I think
Yeah.
we'll see that.
Yeah, I really
Um,
want to see that. I might see that. I think I'm going to see that. I'm getting in the habit. I've discovered discount Tuesdays, which are going to
yeah,
be my new
dude, I
habit.
just discovered them.
I
Yeah, man,
knew
they're
about them
great.
from before, but I discovered them like
They're
again.
awesome.
And so now I'm just going to go see a movie every
Yeah,
Tuesday for
dude.
$6.
Yeah, Last Night in Soho is great. It's really interesting. I thought it was great. There's some people who mixed reviews with it.
Mhm.
Interestingly, which I thought was weird because I
Yeah.
mean I just thought it was
Where's
really
the
good.
funny? Edgar Wright is the
Yeah, it's not
funny
funny. It's
man.
not funny.
Where's the funny?
It's a little funny. It's
Yeah.
definitely he's never made a movie like this. I mean, it's definitely very different.
Yeah.
And but I will say, don't expect a horror movie. So don't expect like a
Okay.
straight up horror movie. Um, but I mean, I'll be curious to see what you think of it because I thought it was really fun. But right now, it's definitely like probably one of my least favorite Edgar Wright movies.
Mm,
But you have to. I mean, he's made all his movies are
really
super
phenomenal.
good, like
Yeah.
super good. So, like, I think I probably like probably Baby Driver a little more than this, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but like it's probably on par with like how I feel about like Shaun of the Dead, maybe. Like,
Yeah.
which is I don't know. It's definitely his my least favorite movie, but of his. But it's hard to like. Maybe in 5 years, I'm like, this is my favorite one. I don't know,
Yeah.
but right now it's my least favorite. But that being said, it's still very good, and very
Yeah.
entertaining, and very original, and very Edgar Wright. Um, yeah. All right, that's like like Alex movie corner.
Yeah. This is what I've seen. Yeah, well, that
I
was
saw no
Dune.
Jimbo.
That's another. I want to see you, Jimbo.
A great
But yeah,
Kurosawa movie.
that was cool. I'm really glad that Dune came out. It was really fun to watch. I'm really
Yeah,
glad
man.
to do that
I'm glad.
podcast
Yeah,
again.
I'm glad it came out.
So next week we'll be talking about something else. But until then,
Something.
we bid our adieu.
All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye.